What is up, everyone? Brandon Ferst, aka FerstReport, representing the First Off the Bench podcast network. Everyone comes off the bench. We are first. Welcome into the first edition of some little hockey talk, talking about hockey here, the Stanley Cup Playoffs on the network with my friend, good buddy of mine I've known. I was thinking about it today. Wow, coming up probably on 20 years. He used to give me rides home from school when I was too lazy to ride my bike. I'd throw my bike in the back of his pickup truck. And yeah, he'd take me home and save me those in those hot summer days. But without further ado, a real life beer league goalie to talk a little hockey with us. My friend Kevin Kadai. How you doing tonight, sir?
Not bad. Yourself?
Good. I'm glad to have you here, ready to talk a little hockey. And of course, the beer league. I think we all hear a lot. It's kind of like Pirates. We hear a lot of stories, and we got to figure out if the crazy shenanigans are true. But before we do dive into that, I do want to make sure I give a shout out to my friends over at Gray Space. They make my life easy doing these podcasts. All I do is hit record, talk sports with my friends, send all that stuff over. They take care of all that post-production stuff. And not only that, they clean it up and put it in front of the right eyes. More than likely, if you're watching this for the first time, it's because of what Gray Space did for me. So go give them a shout if you are in need as well. I can't speak highly enough of them. But with that being said, as I said, Kevin is a beer league goalie. I mean, you're coming up on a good amount. You've been playing hockey really ever since I could remember. Give me some of your background on the ice.
Yeah, so I think I'm going on maybe 20 something years. I know me and my brother played a lot in school, and then I kind of kept playing after that in a lot of beer leagues and stuff. And yeah, I just kind of been doing it ever since.
Yeah.
And trying to get Mikey out. I know, after his accident, but he's doing good, and got him out on the ice, and we're doing some skates. And he wants to dip his hand in that beer league too. So
It's intoxicating.
yeah, definitely.
Well, I mean, I remember.
Yeah.
Oh, go for it. Continue.
Oh no, go ahead.
I was gonna say. I mean, I remember. It wasn't on ice, but the roller hockey.
The orange team.
The orange team. Yeah, that's how beer league it was. It was the orange team, and they were told just wear orange stuff. Yep. And that's what it was. But you and your brother, obviously, Mike Kadai, who maybe one of these days will get on here as well. One of my best friends, and he's definitely one of those. It's kind of the opposite. You're the goalie. Mikey's kind of that scorer. He's the first person I ever saw the Michigan do the Michigan live. But tell me about, like, in terms of being a goalie in beer league. I mean, what is it like? Obviously, we see the NHL. We know that these guys get a little rough and rowdy here and there. But what's it like kind of being in the trenches with essentially a bunch of amateurs who could, well, let's be honest, break your hand if they wanted to, right?
Totally. The goalie position is one of those that people look up to you, and you're carrying the team sometimes. I played a game last night, and we're in the top division, but we're getting moved down. But the first period, like, I probably had like 15 saves, and kind of shut them down in the first period, and then it was all the other team next period. But in terms of that, people look up to you to keep the game going, and keep them from scoring. And you get good leadership skills, and tell people where to be and what to do, and they like that. And I like the responsibility, I guess. It helps build a good character on and off the ice. So yeah, I mean, that's one of the things I like, why I'm playing a goalie position.
Yeah, so. I played catcher in baseball, and it's not the same. I mean, it is, but you have to be a little crazy. You got to be ready to get beaten up. And you're in a lot of prone positions, head down, essentially
Oh
in the
yeah.
fetal position with big dudes kind of crashing the net. But give us some of the pros and cons of beer league. Obviously, I as far as I know, I don't believe the NHL is calling, so anything like that. But what are some of the best things about it, and let's be honest, some of the worst things.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's not like the pros where you're getting paid, so you got to pay, all your gear. You gotta pay your way to play, your league fees, and the ref fees and stuff. That's all included. But you know, if you have a good group of guys, it doesn't really matter. So in the end, but pros, like I said, it's the camaraderie. I think being on a team in the beer league, after college, you're kind of looking for something to do, and you miss that kind of bro life.
Yeah.
But it's cool to be a part of a team, even after that, and being an adult. So in your adult years, but yeah, I mean, and then in pros, or the pros of being a goalie, sometimes you're not on your game. Sometimes you might have a team that you're playing, and none of your guys can stop them, and you feel kind of down, because you're not helping the team out. And if you're having a bad night or something like that, it can definitely affect the team as well. But yeah, that's kind of a
Yeah.
good example.
I mean, obviously, the goalie is one of the hardest position, I think, in hockey. Obviously, you're out there, God willing, out there for the whole game. You don't get the line changes, and
Yeah.
you're right. It all kind of falls on you in a crazy way. Even we're both Kings fans, and we will talk about the Kings here for a little bit. But I think in that first Stanley Cup run, if
Oh,
Jonathan
dude.
Quick maybe wasn't on the game that that he
Yeah.
should have been, we may still be waiting for a cup. But it really does go to show that while goalies, they have so much on their shoulder, they can really take things over. And I know I've seen you in a few games. It didn't happen a whole lot with the Orange team needing that, but there were a few where you do kind of make those saves that just kind of get that momentum rolling in the own direction. But I do have to ask
Totally.
you before we start to kind of shift our focus to the NHL side of things. Do you have a good beer league story for us that I mean, look, if the kids listening, maybe earmuff it. I don't know. I don't think we have a younger audience, so anything you're comfortable sharing, go for it.
No, I mean, I definitely want to uh, kind of say, with my team that I'm playing on right now, we have a good group of guys, San Diego Riptide. Check us out on Instagram, and we like posting and stuff, but yeah, one game, we won the championship a couple seasons ago, and I remember, one, I think last season, I think I had like 3 shutouts in a row, or not in a row, but in a season, and that was pretty much my my highest career record of shutouts in a season for a beer league. That is, because you never know what's going to happen. Sometimes your own player can hit the
Yeah.
puck in on off themselves, and take away your chances of getting a shutout for the night. But yeah, that was one thing that happened. And then I think one time we were down by 2 goals, and I was like, I'm going to the bench, and got an extra attacker out there, and then we got another penalty. They got a penalty and got another one. We ended up winning the game, scoring 3 goals in like a matter of like a minute. So it was a
Nice.
good. Anything can happen in beer league. So so yeah.
Nice. Have you ever scored a goal?
Nah.
No goalie goal.
Never.
That's hard. I mean, I don't mean to
Close,
call you out or
but
anything.
never.
That's
Yeah.
difficult to do. I think even in practice, or just to get that puck in the full pads, let alone in a game where it's rarely the smart thing to do. But
Yep.
had to see if that was the case. But it is, of course, now we will shift our focus to the NHL side of things. Obviously, I kind of hinted towards it. And if you are watching on YouTube, you can see over Kevin's shoulder. Big Kings fans here, obviously, here on the West Coast. And we were both hockey fans before the Ducks were here. Neither of us have a whole strong allegiance towards LA. But the Kings were here before the Ducks when we were following all that. But obviously for the Kings, a bit of a unfortunate, obviously, look, if you don't win the cup, you're definitely going to feel a little down, but they are eliminated in the first round by Edmonton. Myself personally, I wasn't terribly upset. I would have liked it to go 7 maybe, or even get by Edmonton, but I didn't have high hopes coming into the season. They definitely surpassed my expectations. But Kevin, what were your thoughts from what you saw from the Kings this season?
Yeah, I as far as goaltending goes, it was kind of sad to see Quick go. But I think Korpisalo kind of stepped up, and Copley, and I think they did really well in the postseason. As far as that playoff round, you never know what was going to happen. So it was pretty tight with the Oilers and the Kings. So I'd like to see the Oilers maybe go. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
But it's yeah.
Yeah, when you deal with Draisaitl and McDavid,
Mhm.
it's going to be difficult. And I think the Kings are probably a year or two away if everything kind of keeps going on. I'm kind of waiting on Quentin Byfield to be a little more
Yeah.
consistent. Take those steps forward. I mean, obviously, look, Kempe, I think, is ready to take over for
Mhm.
Kopitar when
Yep.
Kopitar does kind of ride into the sunset. I think Kempe is pretty much our best player right now. Drew Doughty, I think this year, in those 6 games against Edmonton, I forget which game, it might have been game 3 or game 4. He had a 5-minute stretch where I
Mhm.
felt like it was 2014 all over again, and I'm drooling over possibly the best defenseman in hockey. Like,
Yep.
where has that been? But I felt he did okay. I do like Mikey Anderson at the back, some of the young talent.
Yeah.
I just, it's so difficult in the division. Anaheim was terrible this year, but Anaheim's
Mhm.
coming. I mean, Trevor Zegras and those youngsters there, I don't like them. And you have your thoughts on whatever you think on Zegras and the way he plays hockey, but he's a damn good hockey player.
Mhm.
Obviously,
Yep.
the goaltender position for the first time in what 10-12 years is now
Yeah.
a kind of a question mark. I'm pretty sure Korpisalo is an unrestricted free agent, and
Yeah.
the question of did Copley do enough to be the starter? We'll see.
Mhm.
But I will say I think overall for this season they surpassed my expectations. Once again, it would have been nice to see him maybe squeak by McDavid, especially considering I think it was game 3 or game 4 they were up 3-0. I think heading to at the end of the first period, ended up losing that game in overtime. But definitely some missed opportunities, but by no means do I think if they win that game they go on and win the cup. They're not that team just
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah. I think they
But
have a lot of um it's that rebirth of a dynasty kind of thing. You have to um wait your turn again with these players that are younger, and like you said, Oilers, Skinner did okay, but I
mhm.
think as a goalie, um, they've had some goalie issues too. So, um, but we'll see how they do.
Yeah, they are. I think at the moment, I was just looking at it before we got rolling. Yeah. Oh, yeah. They are not having a good night tonight.
Mm-hmm.
They are down 4-1 to Edmonton. That's game 3. And it looks like, well, someone just went on the power play. They're not going to tell me, but yeah. So that's an interesting one, obviously going forward. But yeah, for the Kings, obviously get older, get a little bit better. Obviously, Kopitar, I think we're starting to kind of wonder. I thought he had a really good
Yeah.
year again, though, but he is getting older in age, and I'm sure Kevin can attest it's not easy to do that for a long period of time at any level, let alone the NHL level. But a lot of work to do, I
Totally.
think, in the offseason, especially in between the pipes. But
Yep.
one final thing here on the playoffs. Obviously, we'll go out on a little bit on a limb here. Kevin, we are still, 8 teams remaining. Who do you have winning the cup when it's all said and done?
I don't know. I've been Florida's been turning some heads. Beating Boston. I was like, wow. So I think I have them over there. I don't know about Carolina and New Jersey yet. We'll see how that plays out this week. But on the other side, it'd be nice to go with the Kraken.
Yeah.
Those are our jerseys for the Riptide, but they look pretty good too. Bobrovsky is pretty, yeah, he's a good goalie too. So, yeah, I think I would go with for who to win. Probably at this point, I'll say the Panthers.
Yeah. They're
Florida
playing really
Panthers look
well.
strong.
Yeah, they're up 3-0 on Toronto. It looks
Mhm.
like Toronto, the entire city of Toronto rioted like they won the Stanley Cup, and it was only because they got out of the first round for the first time in whatever 20 years.
Yep.
And just to get swept in the second
Yeah.
round, oh goodness. Chef's kiss on that one for the script writers, for
Yeah,
all of us who are not big Maple Leafs fans. But
totally. Yeah,
um,
I'm glad to see some new teams in the
definitely.
semifinals and stuff in the playoffs.
Yeah. No
So
Crosby and Ovechkin this year for the first time,
yeah,
I
I don't know
think,
what's
in
up with
like,
that.
well, it's age,
Age, yeah.
and I think we saw it with the Kings too. You get kind of hampered with your top players, and you
Hmm.
have to pay them 40
Yep.
to 50% of your entire salary cap, which is fine, but the back half of those contracts, I mean, we saw it with Dustin Brown. I love Dustin Brown, but he kind of slowed down, but that's the way his game goes. We've seen it with Drew Doughty. Love Jonathan Quick, but we saw with Jonathan Quick sometimes, those big contracts are great to keep things together until those pieces are kind of falling apart. And I think that's what we're seeing. I mean, by no means am I, ball humbugging on Sidney Crosby and Alex Ovechkin, but I think even they'd admit, they've seen better days.
Yeah.
They're a little bit past their prime. But it is a little unfortunate. Myself personally, I'm really worried that we do see Vegas win it all.
Mm,
And that the only reason I'm okay with that is because of Jonathan Quick, even though
yeah.
I probably would get sick to my stomach if I
Mhm.
saw a picture of Jonathan Quick in a Vegas jersey hoisting the Stanley Cup. I'd feel good. Yeah, right. Like it doesn't. It's
It doesn't sit
but
well with
I
me.
would feel good for him in a professional sense.
Yeah.
It's like the Andy Reid. I'm obviously a big Eagles fan, and
Hmm.
they just lost. I love Andy Reid, but I don't want to see a picture of him hoisting it with Eagles walking off in the background. I don't want to see that. I'm happy for him, but keep it out of my face. Kind of same thing with Quick. And if Vegas wins, I do think they have a really good shot.
Yeah.
Before the second round started, I would honestly said Toronto. I thought they played really well, but that's not going to happen. I don't see them coming back. I really think Carolina is onto something though. They did get their doors blown off of them in New Jersey the other night. I think it was 8-4. Uh, but I do think that Carolina is good enough to weather that storm. And with all due respect to the Panthers, there's only one 8 seed that can ever win the cup, and
Yeah.
that's the Kings.
Yep.
I don't care what anybody says. So hopefully that we can keep that in house. But yeah, I'll take the Hurricanes breaking the hearts of the Vegas Golden Knights fan. But I would love to see the Kraken win as well. I don't have the contempt for the Golden Knights that I do have for Seattle, but I will say um, I would be frustrated for a fan base that's essentially been a fan base for only 2 years to
Yep.
then get your Stanley Cup. That I don't think that's fair. They're obviously longer suffering franchises, but I don't think anyone really cares about what I think. So on that side of things. But before we do go, I do have a question for Kevin, kind of a little bit of a curveball. He doesn't fully know what this one's about. I gave him an idea of what to think. But in the NHL, there is a rule, and I think it may have gone by the wayside or is about to be going by the wayside. It is the EBUG rule, and that's EBUG, and it stands for Emergency Backup Goaltender. And that essentially means that every arena, not even team, but obviously kind of the same thing, but every arena has a quote unquote EBUG. Could be a Zamboni driver, could be just literally the local Kevin, for example, that pretty much sits in a seat, waits for his number to be called, that probably will never be called. Well, I go back to David, I think it was David Ayers a few years ago. He ended up getting a win for Carolina, made some good saves. It's a really cool story. It's awesome. Now, if you're a team that's relying on that to absolutely win the game, it's probably a scary scenario, but overall, I think it's great. My question to you, Kevin, is if you were put in that spot, would you take it, even though I'm pretty sure I know the answer to that? And if so, how do you think you would do?
Yeah, I mean, I would be like, hell yeah, I'm gonna be an NHL goalie for a game. I'd probably I mean, I play sometimes down at UTC with the Platinum division here, and there's some ex minors and stuff, and get that experience. But it'll be good hockey for sure. Hard shots, and you have to be quick. But yeah, I could probably play well.
I think
I got a good eye.
I think you get a solid 75% save percentage, which I think is really good. I mean, it's not going to, save, an NHL goalie, but at the same time, I think that, just from what I've seen. And also too, I mean, the defenders in the league are also really good at, kind of the isolating. Yeah. The one-on-ones. I think the biggest, obviously I've never played goalie, so I don't really know what I'm talking about, but for me, just looking at it, I think of the goals that kind of the shots behind screens, those are the tough ones where or those deflections, like you kind of said earlier, could come off your buddy's skate. They're centering the puck and you're trying to find the pass and it ends up off your buddy's skate in the back of the net, those type of things. But I really do feel like if you could see the shots, I think you could stop them. And I know for most people you're going, well, obviously, but yeah, talk about 100-mile-per-hour puck coming at you really small. See if you could stop it. But I really do think you do pretty well. Who knows? Maybe one of these days, San Diego gets a team. We'll somehow try and get that figured out. I think that would be absolutely incredible. But that is all we have for you, Kevin. Thank you very much. Any parting words? We'll definitely have to do this again, but anything you want to add?
I just want to say thank you. Want to give a shout out again to my team and also my D-man. They always get me out of tight spaces sometimes. So love you guys. And
there you go.
We'll see you on the ice.
Amen. Look at that. That's a good goalie right there. That's a good goalie right there. He's got to make sure he shouts out his D-men, make sure he knows that they are appreciated. But with that being said, thank you all so much for listening to this edition of the First Off the Bench podcast network presented, or let's try that again, Shane.
All right.
With that being said, thank you all so much for listening to this episode of the First Off the Bench podcast network. It's time for y'all to go wash your hands and stop hating everybody. We'll talk to y'all very soon. Take care.